Do you want to know how to play Terraforming Mars in the easiest way? Let me show you how. Hi players, bonjour from Paris, my name is Asaf Hirsch and welcome to my channel Easy Board Games. Today I'm going to show you how to play Terraforming Mars by Jacob Freixelius. This is a 1 to 5 player game where players are going to take the roles of major corporations trying to terraform Mars, battling between themselves and all of that in order to make Mars our new home. Before we're getting started, I got two things for you. First of all, I still owe you from my last video some photos of my brand new gaming table, which is totally awesome because I can play down there, Revive or Divide Impera or whatever. And on top of it, I can continue and do the videos for you. So Jeremy, if you can hear me, merci bien, je suis hyper content. Second of all, I got some upgraded materials for Terraforming Mars, so Aurelie, merci beaucoup aussi. I will attach a link down below so you can go and check it out for some upgraded tiles, some player markers, and really beautiful things. As always, if you learned something new or if you saw something that you like, please consider subscribing to my channel and help me grow this amazing community. I would appreciate it a lot. Like and comment on the video, let me know what kind of a game would you like to see on my next video. Ready to be the winning corporation and make Mars our new home? Let's go to setup. One of the best things that I like in Terraforming Mars is how easy it is to set up. So after we've put the board at the center of the table, we're going to take 3 markers and put them just like this. The first one is going to come right next to the first generation, the second one on 0% oxygen, and the third one on minus 30 Celsius degrees. Then we're going to take 9 ocean tiles and we're going to put them right over here. So here we have 9 ocean tiles. The other type of tiles, like these special tiles or the Greenaries/cities, we're going to put next to the board. Now it's not super important for you guys to see, so with your permission, I'm going to put it off the shot. Then we're going to take all the resource cubes and we're going to put them next to the board. We have 3 types of resource cubes. The first one in this bronze color equals 1. In the silver color equals 5, and gold color equals 10. Then we're going to take the project deck, but before that, we're going to take all the corporation cards, which are the ones with this symbol at the bottom left part of them. We're going to take them out and give this deck a good shuffle. Since I already did it, we can just put it right here next to the board. As you can see, this is a setup for 2 players. We have Mr. Schwet over here in the blue corner, and Mr. Cactus at the red corner. The rules state that the last person who won Terraforming Mars will have the first player token. It doesn't really matter, so we're going to give it over here to Mr. Schwet. Then each player is going to take their player markers and put it right next to them. Again, since this is going to be a standard game and we're going to talk about all the other variations further down the video, in the standard most basic game, each player is going to start with 1 production in each category. So in order for us to state that, we're going to put 1 player marker on the number 1 number in each category. So for example here, we're going to put it on number 1 to show how many mega credits Mr. Schwet is getting. We're going to do the same thing for iron, for titanium, for plants, for electricity, and for heating. Also, each player is going to put 1 player marker on the number 20 in the TR track. TR stands for Terraform Rate. So instead of putting 1 of those player markers, we're going to put these cute little small astronauts. Now it's time to deal the corporation cards and the project cards. For new players like Mr. Cactus over here, it is recommended to give the beginner corporation card. It's going to ease up a little bit the first few games for new players. For the rest of the players, we're going to take all the corporation cards, we're going to give them a good shuffle, and we're going to deal to the other players 2 cards. So right now we're going to give 2 cards to Mr. Schwet. These are the corporation cards and soon he will need to choose 1 of them. Also, each player is going to receive 10 cards from the project deck. Now it's time to choose the cards. Here we're seeing that on the beginner corporation, the player gets to keep all the 10 cards without paying 1 single mega credit. For the other players, they need to choose how many cards they want to keep in their hand, and for each card that they will keep, they will need to pay 3 mega credits. On each corporation card, it is stated what is the amount of mega credits that player is going to start with. So for Mr. Cactus, as we can see over here, he's going to start with 42 mega credit. So right now I have 30 in this kind of cubes. I have 10 more with the silver that equals 5, and I have 2 more with this bronze. So total we have 42. Now it's time for Mr. Chouette to choose which corporation he would like to play with. So Mr. Chouette will need to decide between Ecoline and Helion. On both of them, we can see a different amount of starting mega credits. For Helion, it's going to be 42, and for Ecoline, it's going to be 36. Also, we can see some different icons, so I think it's cool that we'll talk about them right now. When we see icons without a brown background, we understand that this is about units. So if Mr. Chouette will decide to start with Ecoline, he will start with 3 units of plants. We will need to take 3 resource cubes and put them in the plant area. When we see units with brown background, this is about production. So if Mr. Chouette will decide to start with Ecoline, he will actually get to push his plant production 2 steps furthermore. So instead of 1, he will start with 3 plant production per generation. On the other hand, if Mr. Chouette will decide to go with Helion, he will start with 3 heat production more. That means that he will start not with 1 heat production, he will start with 4 of them. Also, in each corporation, we're going to have a small bonus that is very unique to that corporation. We're not going to get into it right now because I think that with the iconography you will be able to understand it very quickly. But just for the example, if we're looking here with Ecoline, they're saying that instead of paying 8 plants to make a greenery, with this corporation you will need to pay only 7. So Mr. Chouette, being an animal, he will decide to go with Ecoline. So this Helion corporation we can bring back to the box. And Mr. Chouette is going to take this Ecoline and will put it right next to his board. Also, of course, now that he decided to go with that corporation, he will start with 3 plants. Also with 2 more plant production. And he will start with 36 mega credit. Now Mr. Chouette will have to choose between the cards that he has, and for each card that he will keep in his hand, he will pay 3 mega credit. So let's say that Mr. Chouette has decided to keep for himself 5 cards. The other 5 cards he's going to discard, and that brings us to the discard pile. All the cards that are being discarded in Terraforming Mars are going to be put next to the project deck facing down. No cards ever in this game are going to be discarded facing up. So let's put it right over here. Because Mr. Chouette has decided to keep 5 cards, 5 times 3, 15, so he's going to put back in the general supply 15 mega credit. In Terraforming Mars, we're going to follow something that is called a generation. The first thing that we need to do is to have the turn order phase. In the first turn, of course, we already decided who will be the first player. That is going to be Mr. Chouette. But when we're going to finish this generation, then this token will pass 1 player clockwise. The next thing is the research phase. Again, this is something that in the first turn we're going to skip, but in the second generation, each player at this phase will take 4 cards from the project deck, and for each card that he decides to leave at his hand, he will need to pay 3 mega credit. Cards that are being discarded will go to the discard pile face down. Then we'll have the action phase, which will go like this. Each player, starting with the first player, is going to take 1 or 2 actions or will pass. When a player has passed because he cannot take more actions or he doesn't want to, that means that in this specific generation, the player cannot play anymore. But as long as he is doing at least 1 action, he can still participate in this circle of actions. When all the players have passed, it's time to finish the action phase and go to the production phase. In the production phase, we will see 2 things. First of all, from steel, titanium, plants, energy, and heat, how many resources are going to be added to that player. With the mega credits, we're going to see how much mega credit does that player produces, and also we're going to add it to the position of that player on the Terraform rate track. The game will finish when the 3 main parameters of Terraforming Mars will be completed. That means that the temperature has reached 8 Celsius degrees, the oxygen level is at 14%, and all the 9 ocean tiles have been put on Mars. Since this is the first turn, and already we know who is going to play right now, we already had our research phase, right? Because both of them have project cards in their hand. We were going to jump directly to the action phase. So every time a new Terraforming Mars game begins, we're going to start directly from the action phase. In this phase, each player is going to take in its turn 1 or 2 actions out of 7 possible actions. So let's talk about the first one, which is playing a card. Each card in Terraforming Mars is completely unique, so I've chosen a few of them just to show you the general direction. Of course, it's going to be a waste of time to go on all of them, but once you get the iconography or even understand how to read the card, it's super simple. The first card is an event type of card. This is something that we're going to play right now, and then we're going to discard it. It will have no effect during the game itself. The first thing that we're seeing is its cost. So this card is going to cost 31 mega credit to play. Right over here, we're going to see some sort of a tag. Okay, we don't know what it means for now, but we'll get back to it. And also the type of card itself. So when you see with an arrow down, and also this card is like lava red or whatever, we're going to understand that this is an event card. Then we're going to see what is the effect of the card itself. So let's read it together. This card means that once a player has played it, we're going to raise the temperature 3 steps and gain 4 steel. Also, we're going to remove up to 8 plants from any player. So let's dive deeper into that. First of all, they're saying raise the temperature by 3 steps. That means that I'm going to take this cube right over here and going to push it a few steps ahead. So from -30 to -28, -26, and -24. Now we're having a few interesting things. Each time a player is changing a global parameter like temperature, like oxygen level or ocean, he's going to advance his player marker 1 step ahead in the Terraform track. So since we started in -30 and we went to -28, let's say that Mr. Schwett is the player who played this card. We're going to take this marker and push it 1 step ahead. But he did it 2 more times, right? Because we raised the temperature 3 times. So 2 more. And that means that from 20 on the Terraform rate, he's now on 23. But also you can see that sometimes we have something that is connected to a specific parameter. So in -24, that specific player is going to raise their heat production by 1. So Mr. Schwett now is going to produce not only 1 heat per generation, is going to produce 2 heat. So you already understood it well. The next player who's going to put it on -20 degrees, also going to do the same thing. The heat production will raise by 1. Again, of course, when someone will push it to 0 degrees, that specific player will also be entitled to put an ocean tile. The same we have right over here with the oxygen level. So when a player is going to move it to 8% of oxygen, also we're going to change again a global parameter of temperature. Now each time we're changing a global parameter, we're going to move this marker 1 step ahead, and also for a triggered action. So let's say that Mr. Schwett right now pushed it to 8% of oxygen, so he's moving his marker 1 step ahead, right? But he also triggered the temperature. So he's going to raise the temperature, but again, because this is a global parameter that has moved up, again, he's going to advance his marker 1 step ahead. That was the first thing of raising the temperature 3 steps ahead. Also, this player is going to receive 4 steel. So we have here 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to put it over here. And also, we're going to remove 8 plants from any other player. So if, for example, it was Mr. Cactus that would have played this card, and we see that Mr. Schwett has 3 plants, Mr. Cactus would have been able to take these 3 plants and put it back in the general supply. Since it was Mr. Shwet who played it and Mr. Cactus doesn't have any other plants and there are no other players, then this means that it has no effect. Let's talk about another card that is called Kelp Farming. This card costs 17 mega credits to play. Right next to it, we see something new. That is a condition in order for us to play this card. The condition of this card states that we need to have on Mars at least 6 ocean tiles. Right now we don't have any at all, so we cannot play this card. But let's say that we do have 6 ocean tiles on Mars, just like we have right now. Now we can pay its cost and play this card. So again, we see here another green tag, and we see a few things that are going to happen. First of all, just like we saw in the beginning, when we have symbols without a brown background, that means that we're talking about units. So if it was Mr. Shwet that played this card, first of all, he will receive 2 plants. After that, we can see over here the symbols with the brown background. So first of all, we're going to advance the mega credit production by 2. And after that, we're going to advance the plant production by 3. At the end of the game, this card will worth 1 victory point. Let's take another card that is called Colonizer Training Camp. So again, we see the cost of the card, right? This is 8 mega credit. And now we see again a condition. But this is going to be a little bit reversed, because here we're seeing that is maximum 5% oxygen. Before that, with kelp farming, we saw that we need minimum 6 ocean tiles. But right now we're seeing that we need maximum 5% oxygen. So if our global parameter of oxygen is on 5 or less than that, we can play this card, right? Because we have maximum 5% oxygen. If we'll have 6 or more, we will not be able to play this card. Next, we're going to see another icon that we don't know what it means. It's called Juvian because it has something to do with Jupiter. And next to it, we see another icon. This icon is called Building. And it means that this project involves some construction on Mars, right? We're going to build a colonizer training camp. But also, this icon means that we can pay for this card also with steel. Each steel is worth 2 mega credits, as we can see over here on the player board. So if, for example, it's Mr. Shwet who's playing this card, and this costs 8 mega credits, we can pay only with steel. So 4 times 2 is 8. We can pay instead of in mega credits, we can pay with steel. It's not exclusively, so we can also mix. We can pay 4 with mega credits and 4 with steel, it doesn't matter. Then we're seeing that we don't really have an effect right here. We only know that this card is worth 2 victory points at the end of the game. The next card that I would like to show you is called Equatorial Magnetizer, which is this one right over here. So let's take a look over it again. We have the cost, 11 mega credit. We already know that it has the building symbol. That means that we can pay for it in steel, right? And then this card actually is something that is going to affect us throughout all the game. Why? Because it has something that we can do each turn. Here they say that as an action, we can decrease our energy production 1 step to increase our terraform rating 1 step. But we can do this action only once per generation. We're going to symbolize it by taking a player marker and put it on the card itself, just like this. Now it means that every time we perform this action, we can take our electricity, our energy production, and take it down 1 step. So for example, let's say that Mr. Shwet has played this card. He's going to take his energy production from 1 to 0 in order to advance his terraform rate 1 step ahead. So from 24, he will go to 25. But this is considered to be an action. There's another type of blue card, and I'm going to demonstrate it with this one that is called Pets. So we already know that this card is going to cost us 10 mega credits to be played. We have 2 other icons that we don't necessarily know what they mean, but we'll talk about it a little bit further down the video. And the difference between these 2 cards is while this card is an action that we can take on our turn, this card is actually going to be triggered by another action of us or another player throughout the game. Here it means that every time a player, doesn't matter which one, is going to put a city tile on Mars, this card is going to be triggered and we're going to put an animal on this card. What does it mean to put an animal on this card? Again, we're just going to take a player marker and we're going to put it on this card. Also, it says that animals cannot be removed from this card. So it already gives us a small idea that maybe other cards can give us the effect of removing animals from different cards, just like we had this card over here that allowed us to remove plants from a different player. That is the only thing that this card is doing, and at the end of the game we see that we're going to receive 1 victory point for every 2 animals that we have on this card. So if at the end of the game Mr. Chouette has 4 animals on this card, when we're going to count the points, he will have 2 extra victory points. A few important things that we need to remember when we're playing a card. First of all, when we're playing an event card, after we finish taking care of everything that is written over it, we're going to put it on a personal discard pile. When we're playing a green card, we'll put it in our own personal playing area. And when we're playing another green card, we can just put it on top of it, leaving uncovered only the icon at the top of it. And this is because after we've played a green card, we will not have another effect on it, maybe at the end of the game when we'll need to take the victory points from it. But in general, we'll just need to use the icons on top of it. Because some cards will require us later to have a minimum amount of a specific icon, or maybe for each specific icon that we have in our playing area will receive a XY bonus or something like that. When we're playing a blue card, we're also going to put it in our personal playing area. But then when we're playing another blue card, we can cover it also, but we're going to leave uncovered only the triggered ability or the action that we can take. Another important thing to remember is that we can play a card only if the global parameters have been met, only if we have enough mega credits to pay for it, or if we can pay with steel or titanium. Also, we will not be able to play a card if, in order for us to play it, we'll need to take down a production that is already on 0. This has an exception when we're talking about mega credits, because as we can see, we can go below 0 up until minus 5 mega credits. The next type of action that we can take is one of the standard projects. The first standard project is to sell a patent, and that means for each card that we're going to discard, we're going to receive 1 mega credit. So if, for example, Mr. Cactus is going to sell 3 patents, that means that he's going to take 3 cards from his hand and put it face down, of course, I remind you, on the discard pile. He's going to receive for it 3 mega credits. So he's taking it from the general supply into his player area. The second standard project is a power plant, and that means that we're going to pay 11 mega credits to increase our energy production by 1. The next project is Asteroid. We're going to pay 14 mega credits to increase the global temperature of Mars by 1. And apparently in this futuristic game you can summon different asteroids from the galaxy, but whatever. The next project is Aquifer. That means that we're going to pay 18 mega credits in order to put 1 ocean tile. After that, the next project is Greenary, paying 23 mega credit in order to put 1 Greenary. And the last project is 25 mega credits to put 1 city tile and increase our mega credit production by 1. So as you can see here on Mars, we have specific locations that are marked in this bluish shade, and only on these tiles we'll be able to put an ocean tile. So we're going to take 1 ocean tile from here and we're going to put it on one of the reserved area for ocean tiles. First of all, we need to know that oceans don't belong to any player. They're completely global. Then we're going to take the bonus that is printed on the specific hexagon. Here, for example, we're going to receive 2 steel. Here, we're going to receive 2 project cards. Over there, we're going to receive 2 titanium. And on others, we're going to receive 1 or 2 plants. So if, for example, Mr. Cactus right now is taking this ocean tile and putting it right over here, he's going to receive 2 things. First of all, he's receiving 2 plants. So we're going to put it right over here. And because we changed the global parameter, right, we put an ocean tile, Mr. Cactus is going to advance 1 step on the Terraform rate track. The next tile that we can put is a Greenary tile. So here we have a few conditions. First of all, we have to put a Greenary tile next to another tile that we already own. Of course, we're going to do it only if we can. In this case, for example, since there are no other tiles besides the ocean tile on Mars, we'll have the possibility to put this Greenary anywhere that we would like. Of course, if it is not on the places that are reserved for oceans. And the same rule applies to the Greenary like the ocean. So we're going to receive the bonus that is printed on that specific hexagon. So let's say that Mr. Shwet has put this Greenary. So first of all, we're going to receive 1 plant and 1 titanium, 1 and 1. We're going to put it over here. Then we're going to take a player marker and put it on the Greenary because this Greenary belongs to Mr. Shwet, and that will play also a part later on when we'll talk about scoring. And also, every time that we're putting a Greenary, we're actually advancing the oxygen parameter by 1. And if you remember, since we're moving this oxygen, this global parameter by 1, we're also going to advance the player marker 1 step ahead on the Terraform track. The next type of tile that we can put is a city tile. Also here we have a few conditions. First of all, we cannot place it next to another city tile. Now, we will have some exceptions because as you can see, we have 3 hexagons that are reserved for specific cities. So a city tile is something that we can put wherever we want. Again, of course, not on a hexagon that is reserved for an ocean. A city tile will be worth 1 victory point for each adjacent Greenary tile regardless of its owner. So if, for example, Mr. Cactus has decided to do a standard project and to pay 25 mega credits and put 1 city tile, he can put it right over here. He's going to take a player marker and put it over the city. So now we know that this city belongs to Mr. Cactus. And at the end of the game, it's going to be worth 1 victory point for each adjacent Greenary tile, regardless of its owner. So even if this Greenary belongs to Mr. Shwet, still it's going to be worth 1 victory point for Mr. Cactus at the end of the game. So again, just to show you that there are some exceptions, if, for example, at some point one of the players is going to play the Noctis city, we'll have to put it on this tile, even if it means that it is attached to another city tile. For specific special tiles, we're going to follow on the instructions that we have on the card itself. But let's see one example. Let's take this card, for example, that's called Lava Flows. First of all, we see here that it is an event. We paid 18 mega credits to play it. And then it says, raise temperature 2 steps and place this tile on either Therasis Tholus, Arcarius Mons, Pavonis Mons, or Arcia Mons. So again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Probably I'm mispronouncing it, right? So of course, after we already pushed the temperature 2 times and advanced on the terraform rate 2 times, we have specific locations where we will be able to put this special tile. So we will need to look on Mars itself, and we have different locations on it, and we'll be able to put it in one of the locations that is stated on the card. One of these locations is marked over here, which called Therasis Tholus, and we're going to put this special tile right over here, and it's going to give us also a 1 steel. The next action that we can take is called Claim a Milestone, and we can find it right over here at the bottom of the board. This action actually is something that will win us some victory points at the end of the game, 5 to be exact. And in order for us to take this action, we'll need to have the requirement that is stated over there. For example, to be at least on position 35 on the Terraform rate track, or to own 3 cities, or to own 3 greenaries, or to have at least 8 building icons in our playing area. And now I remind you that we can look on the cards that we played. Here, for example, with Mr. Chouette, we see that we have 1 building icon. If he will have at some point of the game 8, he will be able to claim this milestone. And over here, the last one, we need to have in our hand 16 project cards. So on top of meeting the criteria that is written over there, we also need to pay 8 mega credits. And also, we're going to be able to claim during the entire game only 3 milestones. So it's a little bit kind of a race. After each milestone that we have claimed, we're going to put a player marker on it to know that this specific milestone has already been claimed. The next action that we can do is called Fund an Award. So let's take directly an example. Mr. Chouette thinks that at the end of the game, he will have the most tiles on Mars. He decides to fund the Landlord Award. First of all, he's going to pay 8 mega credits because this is the first award that is being funded. He's going to put a player marker on this award. And now really, if at the end of the game, he was the player with the most tiles on Mars, he will receive 5 victory points. But here's the twist. If another player has the most tiles on Mars, then the 5 victory points will actually go to the other player, even though it was Mr. Chouette that funded this specific award. The next award that will be funded will cost 14 mega credits, and the third one is going to cost 20 mega credits. As you already guessed it, there can be only 3 awards that are funded in one single game of Terraforming Mars. In a multiplayer game, that means more than 2 players. The second place is going to take 2 victory points. Ties are actually friendly, and that means if we have 2 players on first place, both of them will have 5 victory points, but the next one after them will receive nothing. And if we have 2 players on the second place, both of them will receive 2 victory points. That changes a bit in a 2-player game because the second place in this case will not take victory points. Only first place will take 5 victory points. The next action that we can do is to use an action on a blue card. Now, if you remember, Mr. Cactus has played 2 blue cards over here. One of them is actually passive, right? We cannot take this action actively, so we ignore that for this moment. But the other card that he played actually states that every time he will take this action, he can lower the energy production that he has in order to advance on the Terraform rate track 1 step more. Of course, in this specific case, Mr. Cactus has 0 energy production, so he will not be able to take this action. Again, this action can be taken only once per generation. The next action that we can do is to convert plants into greenery. Every time that we will have 8 plants in our plants area on our playing board, we will be able, as an action, to discard these 8 plants to the general supply and place a greenery, according to the rules of course, on Mars. Don't forget that every time that we're putting a greenery, we're also advancing the oxygen level by 1%. The last action that we can do is to convert heat into temperature. And that's pretty much like we saw on Greenery, but instead of plants and a greenery, we're going to convert 8 heating resources or units into advancing the global parameter of temperature 1 step higher. In the production phase, we're just going to produce in each category the amount of resources that we have on the production track. So for example, for mega credits for Mr. Chouette, we can see that he is on number 27 in the Terraform rate track. Also, he has 1 mega credit in production, so 27 plus 1. That means that we'll need to give to Mr. Chouette 28 mega credits. Then we see that he's producing 1 steel and 1 titanium, so 1 and 1. We can see that he's producing 3 plants. Also, he's producing 2 energy, but before we're going to put the new energy on the player board, we have something interesting with this arrow over here. And that means that all the energy that was left from this generation, we're going to push into the heating resources. Now we can put the 2 energy that Mr. Shwet is producing for this generation. And also we see that he's producing 2 heat resources. So we're going to add that to his player board also. In Terraforming Mars, the game is over when all 3 global parameters are at their maximum. That means when we are at 8 Celsius degrees, 14% of oxygen, and all the ocean tiles, that means 9, have been already put on Mars itself. So let's say that Mr. Shwet with his last action has pushed the temperature to the limit to 8 Celsius degrees. And right now Mr. Shwet with this action has triggered the end of the game. Players can continue taking actions until the end of the generation. That means until the end of the production phase. Of course, even if they will take actions that will push the parameters furthermore, we will have no change. That means we cannot have more than 8 Celsius degrees, more than 14%, and of course we don't have any more ocean tiles. The only thing that players can do after the production phase is to convert all the plants into greenaries in order to have more victory points. And then we will count all the points and the winner will be declared. The other variant of Terraforming Mars that I would like to talk to you about, because solo version is for another video, is the corporate era variant. In this variant, we're going to take all the cards that we have left behind with this symbol of a red circle with a white triangle, and we're going to mix it with the project deck that we had over here. This variation focuses on the economy and the technology and is going to make the game much longer. Also, another thing that we need to remember that in this variant with the corporate era, all the players are going to start in their production at 0.